Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of DLC, the downloadable cast. I am Gerard Cleve, the completionist, and to my internet left or right this time is not Greg. Greg actually is taking a day off. No, he's working a gig with his music stuff, and I thought, you know what? Why not ask someone who is pretty awesome, a friend of mine who is very involved in YouTube and the community and is very well rounded when it comes to games. So I got Michael Barity of Belated Media. Michael, how you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me and just allowing me to talk on the downloadable cast.
Yeah, thanks for. I know that things were a little crazy during the setup process, but I appreciate your time and effort with us today. So thanks for being here.
Yeah. I'm very excited to be talking all about the future of the Nintendo.
Yeah, future of Nintendo. Before we start, guys, our chat moderator for this call is Soa. Say hi, Soa.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yes, I'm pretty good. How are you?
Pretty darn tootin'.
He's always pretty darn tootin'.
Couple of cleaning up things. One, this chat, the whole stream is now available on iTunes. So if you guys want, not the live stream viewers, but for you guys watching on YouTube, check the links below, and you'll see an iTunes link. The first two episodes have been uploaded, and this one will be uploaded as well. Bookmark that page so that you guys can go ahead and download it. I know a lot of you guys have been saying you want the one on iTunes, so we went ahead and did that. For this podcast specifically, we just partnered with K Zombie Radio. My friend Matt runs a site, what is it, like a zombie podcast, and he wanted to do like a gaming kind of thing. So we are the exclusive gaming podcast on K Zombie Radio, which is kind of neat. It's our first thing there, so it's kind of yay for more. Everyone makes fun of us for being partnered with so much stuff, but it's like people don't realize that it's not
exposure.
Yeah, we're not making like a crap ton of money. It's just it's more of an audience for a way to see us and that kind of thing. So, with that in mind, guys, we move on to our topic of the day, which is the future of Nintendo. Oh man, this is one that's been on everyone's mind. At least I feel. Michael and I both were at E3 this year, and
Yes.
we were all about play-ins with the Wii U and the new 3DS games. And you know what? I love Nintendo. I want them to do really well this year. I think they have the possibility to do well, but when
their E3 show was not the best.
it wasn't, and it's interesting. You know, I feel that Nintendo really, last year they kind of dropped the ball with the Wii U when they first announced it. They showed us the controller. They got us distracted. They showed us that controller, and we're like, it looks so cool. I want one right now. And when we finally got to hold it and play with it, it felt really neat and it felt fantastic.
And all the tech demos they showed were really just like flashy. The HD Zelda thing where you could be switching the camera, or that bird flying over the river, like all the presentation-wise, it looked really, really cool. And then flash forward to this year where, like, in my head, I was so certain. I was like, they're going to hit real hard. It's going to be like a hardcore gamer's just like wet dream of like Nintendo in HD, and they're going to be announcing like an F-Zero that's online with 30 people playing at once, and graphically it's just phenomenal. And instead we got Nintendo Land and like digital fireworks to end off their presentation, and I just was like, what happened?
Yeah.
What, like, and you have to understand, I am a Nintendo fanboy through and through. Like, the only consoles and handhelds I've ever owned are Nintendo. And so, like, I mean, I'm starting to feel a little let down. Like, I didn't get my 3DS when it first launched because there was nothing there. And
even at that, like, I bought my 3DS when Zelda 3DS came out, and I felt so upset because I realized it took me the 3D remake of a game that I've already played hundreds of times to buy this system. And I finally bought it. I was like, what? why did I do that right away? Like, I've played it so many times.
I mean, now the 3DS is picking up steam because it's actually got some titles of note and
Yeah.
like some good stuff on the way. But I mean, that launch was abysmal as far as handheld launches or just launches in general go.
You know, Nintendo, they had such great opportunities. You know, I've said this actually on the first podcast.
Right.
That Nintendo plays it safe. They never take chances on anything. I feel like the last time they really took a chance, like a really earnest chance, was probably around the 3D Boy. Was it called?
The Virtual Boy?
The Virtual Boy, where they really just were like, let's go for that, that kind of 3D gimmick with the control, with the red and that kind of thing. And that didn't work out at all for them. And when it came to such things such as original IPs, like look what happened. Like Pikmin and Animal Crossing were the last original IPs we've received from Nintendo.
Well, that's not entirely true. They do have some stuff on the eShop, but it's very like under the rug. Like I really enjoy Dylan's Rolling Western and Pushmo, but those weren't like a wide release. They like there wasn't any like ads on IGN or anything being like, hey, you should check out this game. But like those are Nintendo brands that could be a lot bigger, but instead they're just kind of being kept quiet because I don't think they're not led by a Nintendo mascot that was established 20 some years ago. So like I feel a lot of franchises that we're seeing now, like Kirby's Epic Yarn, very easily could have been a completely its own franchise. Of just like it's a yarn world, blah 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 blah. But they slapped Kirby onto it, and suddenly you're like, oh, I'll play that. Same with Paper Mario. Like these could be their own brands, but instead they're like, but if we put the Mushroom Kingdom on it, people will definitely buy it.
I think that Kirby Epic Yarn, literally, you couldn't die in that game. Like
Yeah.
it was impossible to die. Like it was.
But like you didn't need to. I mean, we've reached a point in gaming where you don't have coins that you're putting into the arcade, so like lives almost don't matter.
I guess that's true, especially with new Mario Bros. 3DS
Like
2 coming out.
it's just about the high score now, like that, and they figured that out of like just try to speed run with the coins and everything and coin rush, and like that's like what gives you bragging rights and stuff.
I did mention earlier I thought Nintendo doesn't take chances. Let me clarify. It's not that I don't think Nintendo takes chances. They do take chances. They take chances in a very different direction than I think they could have or should have. I feel like when they did the Wii, when they first announced the Wii, and we finally, Mikey and I, we sat in line for our Wiis at the boardwalk.
We did.
We played Mario Kart with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different people, and we waited till 6 a.m. to finally get our Wiis. And we got home, we started up Wii Sports, Zelda, and I just remember being so happy, like this is it, like this is what it is.
Yeah.
And I remember, because it was Thanksgiving break for school for me, and I finally got to play it. Like, I was like, I get to play this whole thing without being bothered or interrupted. I remember at the end of the week, I was so upset because I realized that, one, they kind of lied to us in their advertising. They said that the motion controls were like the way to play the future of gaming, that it was going to be, it almost felt like it was one-to-one, that kind of stuff. And when we finally got it, it was like, this is not what we thought we would get. And and followed by a few years later, they come out with Wii Motion Plus, where they say, listen, we know that motion control is not necessarily accurate, so with Wii Motion Plus, it's going to change the way you do gaming. And with Wii Sports Resort, which was basically Wii Sports 2. And like once again, gaming was revolutionized or whatever. And no, it's not. It's nowhere near perfect.
It's not, but I mean, these are the steps that need to be taken. It's just unfortunate that in a lot of cases, Nintendo has kind of jumped the gun on a few things, like with motion controls. Had they taken the time to really finesse it, and even if it did mean releasing a console later, because we see with both the Wii releasing the Wii Motion Plus and we see with the 3DS releasing the Circle Pad Pro that they're going, oh, our hardware has an issue with it that we need to resolve. And that's just bad testing, really, on their
That
part.
really is. I would, Nintendo's been set on 5 to 6 years for a life cycle of a console. I felt like with the Wii, what they could have done was kind of like what they did with the Game Boy SP, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, where you know they basically went from a fatter system to a smaller, sleek system with a better backlight display. They could have kind of done like a Wii upgrade U-Haul essentially, and because the Wii's just went cheaper every year, like they went down to 200, then 180, then 170, then 150, and by the end of the year they're probably gonna be down to $100. But I think that what they could have easily done to save them all this trouble of the Wii U and everything was just to redevelop the hardware, to make it so that third-party support would be worth it, because that's the problem, is that we as consumers are not stupid when it comes to games. Yes, we're all Nintendo fans, or those that are. We're going to go out, we're going to buy the Marios and the Zeldas. We're going to buy that stuff. You don't need to advertise any of that. You make it, we'll buy it, no questions asked. It's going to be fun. Whether or not it's new and exciting, that's a different question, but chances are we're still going to buy it. The big question was, you have, like, what's going to happen, though, for all the third-party support? Like, the Madden games look terrible. Call of Duty looks terrible. Any game that's available on multi-platforms always looks the worst and is the most terrible on the Wii. It's just that...
Well, and that's why, I mean, they're smart in kind of in between a cycle of next-gen consoles. They're releasing the Wii U. This ultimately will be... They're probably going to have two systems before, like one that follows pretty close to, I feel, whatever the next Xbox or the next PlayStation is, just to keep up graphically. Or maybe they'll be able to, because we don't really know all the specs as far, at least I don't. Maybe there are specs out there, but it's just a matter of, like, they're making the right move of cutting the Wii's life cycle sooner than later, because the Wii U is a souped-up Wii right now, at least.
Yeah.
Like, it's got the gamepad, but it still uses the same peripherals and everything, which I appreciate a lot, because it would...
yeah, exactly.
I'd be a little annoyed to be like, I've got, 4 Wii remotes, and then, like, 2 Wii Motion Plus remotes, like... and now they're useless.
Yeah, it's good for them to kind of say, we understand that all of our customers bought these peripherals. They're not just meant to be given away or thrown away in the garbage.
It's good to show that they're, like, recognizing, like, oh, you can still use these carry over. That's good. It's a little bit of backwards compatibility, already built into the system, which is always welcome. I mean, the big thing that Nintendo now has is trying to say, even though with the Wii it was a very casual gamer system, with the Wii U, with this asymmetric gameplay that they're stressing so hard, that is going to be the console of choice for any sort of third party or first party. Like, it is the game, it's the way to play a game. And honestly, at E3 there were, from the third-party developers, primarily Ubisoft, I did feel that I kind of could understand that, because we were both watching the Assassin's Creed demo over in Nintendo with Ubisoft, and you got to see, like, they're easily sliding through the primary and secondary weapons. The map on the gamepad is larger, so you're able to know where more things are going on, but you've also got that smaller map on screen. It's like, when compared to what you'd have otherwise, you go, oh, this allows you to pause the game less, this allows it to be more fluid, much like with the 3DS re-release of Ocarina of Time. You could be easily tapping and swiping. It made, like the water temple really easy, because you didn't have to pause every 6 seconds to turn off the iron boots and everything.
Yeah.
it's that sort of thing that it is being tailored, like games are being tailored to really utilize that, but it's just going to be a matter of how quickly are developers going to realize, oh, it in many ways the gamepad is a lot like the second screen in a DS.
Well, here's my problem with Nintendo. You brought up a lot of points, Mikey, and here's my biggest problem with what Nintendo is doing. My biggest problem with it is, first off, well, let's talk about the positive. First off, I love the Wii U controller. I think it feels great. It feels like it feels like a nice hybrid between an iPhone and a hardcore gaming controller. I think that it's a smart move with how they're integrating it. I think it's going to be fantastic when it comes to games, and I feel like with some more first, second, and third party support, the Wii U, it could be a game changer in terms of how we play games in the future. The problem lies in the graphical achievements as to what it can do right now. In my opinion, all Nintendo had to do, Nintendo had to do three things to make the Wii last a lot longer than they intended. One, better graphics. Simply put, if they had a better graphics card with a better processor that had more space for storage, I had to buy several SD cards just to swap out all the games I downloaded from the virtual shop channel and for the virtual console store place, Nintendo Shop. And that's, again, graphics, better hardware essentially, just flat out. Second, better online support. You know what? The friend code thing was a little ridiculous. Per game, it made no sense.
They figured it out though with the 3DS and the fact that it's one code, every game works once you've exchanged the code. It's not perfect. It's certainly not, like Steam or Xbox. Xbox clearly has the best model, but they're slowly figuring it out.
Right, but my point is that here. This is my big point. Is that let me talk about the third thing real quick. The third thing,
of course. Sorry,
it's okay. The third thing is they needed to work closer with. No, they needed to have a better overall control scheme aside from the motion control. I guarantee, whether or not the game looked good or performed good, if Nintendo thought of a way to incorporate a GameCube-like-esque controller in almost nearly every game possible, they would have pulled in a lot more hardcore gamers. People who bought Zelda got tired of wagging the remote every 2 seconds to attack something. My Gung Ho Al, people who watch the show know Gung Ho Al. Gung Ho Al bought a Wii on launch day. He refused to play Mario Galaxy or Zelda or any of those games because he hated the motion control. Not because, he wasn't opposed to the idea, because it felt unnatural. It wasn't a great way for all of us. It forced us hardcore gamers to adapt to a casual model.
But, with every controller and every new, the jump from Xbox to Xbox 360, those are controllers that have kind of stayed the same, but the jump from Super Nintendo to 64, that was a
huge.
Large change
that was huge
in the way that the controller was. So, the argument of gamers don't like change. Gamers most people really enjoy just getting upset when something's different.
Well, yeah,
but
of course.
If anybody just with Smash Brothers Brawl, you could customize your button layout however you wanted, and that honestly was what should have been applied to a lot of the games, in the fact that just giving you the option.
Exactly. Which it can't be that hard to program, considering, I don't know I don't develop games obviously, but I feel like that little amount of care when it came to that kind of customization could have swayed a lot more people, a lot more of the hardcore market. Because now what Nintendo's advertising with the Wii U is that it's both the hardcore and the casual.
Well, and that's where we are now with what is the future for them. They're making the right steps. It's just, will these steps be big enough steps? Because right now they've got they seem to have embraced the idea of an online community we don't fully know what all of it is, but the fact that your gamepad can be sending out messages into a forum and all that sort of stuff, that you can be voice chatting or video chatting with people. Reggie said something to the effect that there are still friend codes, but I think it's going to be more like the 3DS has been set up. And they're giving us the option of there's the gamepad and then there's the controller Pro, which I mean it looks like an Xbox 360 controller. So like, good for them. Like they're providing the services that people want, in that you go, okay, I can be playing it a variety of ways, and developers can be, choosing which they want it to be more of, because, obviously if you pick a Wiimote, it's got fewer buttons. That's probably going to skew towards casual, whereas if you go Pro or gamepad, it's obviously going to be a little more complicated and probably more hardcore. So these are the steps are being made. It's just, I mean, really it's going to come down to the software that comes out and how good that community is.
Well, let me ask you this, Mikey. This is my personal take on it. Nintendo, I just watched a bunch of Kevin Smith stuff, so he's in my mind right now. Kevin Smith was talking about Red State and the future of where he was making movies, and he said that the reason why his most recent films weren't doing well because he had this whole theory of, instead of, he kept playing in hockey, he had to be, this is what it's hard to explain, but Netflix, all that stuff for Kevin Smith stuff. He kept saying that in hockey, you don't necessarily want to be where the puck is going. You want to be where the puck is already aiming to go. So you're on the receiving end of that. And Nintendo, in my opinion, is going with the puck as opposed to on the receiving end of where the puck is, getting ready to shoot and score. I feel like they're finally catching up to all of these different aspects that Xbox and Sony has created. When we don't know what the Xbox 720 is or PS4 is, whatever it may be, but Nintendo is fixing all the wrongs that they kind of ignored with the Wii, moving on with that kind of stuff.
But they're also changing things.
Yeah, that is true. However, I mean, Microsoft. I'm not a big Microsoft guy. I have an Xbox. I don't play many games, but they kind of shook up Nintendo's world with the Kinect. I don't like the Kinect. I think it was stupid. I think it was really weird of them to go that route. But Microsoft and Sony, they're gonna go where Nintendo's not going in terms of hardware. And I feel like that first party support, no matter what, always going to look good. This is Nintendo's kind of second nature. But the second and third party support is going to be what changes a lot of the future of gaming. Companies like EA, Ubisoft, all of those other companies out there, they're going to want to sign with whatever Microsoft and Sony has because they're going to push the limit with their hardware. And Wii U graphics at this point, and depending on what they haven't told of us and what they have told of us, the hardware, for what we know, is a little better than PS3 and a little better than Microsoft. But these guys they're gonna go further. They're gonna make the graphics better. They're gonna push the limit. They're gonna incorporate better online support. They're gonna go beyond Nintendo in this retrospect. And those hardcore gamers are kind of gonna be like, well, see what they have to offer. And that's my thing, is that Nintendo, in my opinion, in order for them to stay on top or to move on top, they needed to not only incorporate that controller in terms of success, in terms of changing the game, they also need to go ahead and surpass Sony and Microsoft on things like online support and graphics for the third-party support. Because having a console that's just as good as PS3 and 360 is not nearly as going to be revolutionary when it comes to the next years of consoles. Because everyone knows Microsoft. Like, look at Microsoft's lineup this at E3. Halo, Call of Duty, like nothing game-changing, things that are easy to replicate on the engines they already have, nothing to push forward what they're doing. So that's my problem with Nintendo. They not only could they have the opportunity to push forward with what they were doing, they just kind of dropped the ball and just focused
Right,
it
but
once again.
Nintendo has always been, I mean, starting I think back with the Wii, they've always been saying it's about the game. The graphics don't necessarily matter. Unfortunately, with the hardcore market, it is a big thing, and the third party has certainly embraced that, people like very pretty graphics, but I'd say some of the innovative stuff that Nintendo does with gameplay should be applauded, and unfortunately people are glazing over stuff that they're doing. It's difficult because they did take that approach of it's about the game, which is completely true, but now they're playing catch up in one regard of graphics. In terms of gameplay, they're always the ones who are pushing the innovation. They're always the ones who are going, oh, what if we tried motion control, or what if we, they're the ones who are shaking it up and moving things, and then people are copying them. So it's like the motion control, the answer from Microsoft was Kinect,
Of course.
and with Sony was the Move, and with the Wii, with the gamepad was Smart Glass. Like, in terms of hardware and trying different things, like Nintendo's always being pretty risky. It's just a matter of it. Honestly, I feel if they were presently at the same graphics level as Xbox 360 and PlayStation, and this Wii U was something that was, right up there, everyone would be like, we're doing this. We're on board. But unfortunately, it's not that case. So they're just going to be a little above, and now it's their turn to really say, okay, we're on par. Let's get some third party really hitting with us, and then like just drive the points home that like there are gameplay experiences that can only be happening on this console, like because of the risks that they're taking. I mean, in terms of online support, that's something that I still think, like, once you're in the game, like, yeah, it is all about the game. Unfortunately, if you've got a janky interface and friend codes and all that sort of stuff, you are going to stumble a little bit. But I feel like we're going to be seeing them making us really excited. So in a few regards, we'll be willing to like forgive some missteps because we know that they're figuring it out.
Yeah, but all right. Well, we've talked a lot. I think
Yes,
we
we have.
let's move on to some articles we have right now. Mikey, you brought some
Mhm.
articles, some good points
I
to
do.
discuss. So let's go ahead and let's talk about experts on Nintendo's immediate future post losses.
Yeah, I mean this year was the first time in the first half of the year Nintendo announced that they had $926 million loss, which is the first time I believe in Nintendo's history that they've posted losses.
Yeah,
And
at least losses this huge.
well, definitely. So they, I mean, Satoru Iwata, president of Nintendo, took full responsibility, took a cut in pay.
All of them took cuts.
But Satoru Iwata, like, I think halved what he would normally get. Like, he took personal responsibility, and they acknowledged that the 3DS launch was not what it should have been, and that's like one of the primary reasons that they posted such high losses, because they were putting out a handheld that didn't have traction initially. And now, I mean, I don't think they'll be posting losses anytime soon because the 3DS has the software that people want. But I definitely feel like they are more aware now that they can't be making that sort of oh, well, we're launching a handheld and, on the way will be Mario and on the way will be Zelda. They have to launch with a AAA game that really brings people, especially when they're listing the price point as high as they are. I mean, now they've dropped the price, and then they've got the 3DS XL, which is coming out with a higher price point.
Not much higher, but higher nonetheless.
Yeah, it's higher. It's higher than what the 3DS is at.
I would have bought an XL from. I mean, we all saw it coming too. That an XL
Yeah.
model was coming.
I mean, I don't know. I enjoy the size of this guy, so like I can fit it in a pocket. The XL is just not my jam on that.
Yeah.
Like a larger screen is always nice, but the fact that they posted losses, I think, has caused them to shake things up. Like they just also, going to another link, they've hired a new senior VP of network business, which like leads directly into them like trying to tackle online community. They've got Duncan Oral Jones, who previously, actually today is his first day on the job. He's worked for Disney Interactive Media Group, so he's definitely used to a large company that has many franchises to be building and is always actively trying to remedy any sort of swells within a community. So it's definitely a smart move on Nintendo's part to be going after someone from such a big business background, especially from Disney, because Disney execs are always some of the top brass, despite them perhaps letting out some not-so-good live-action films of late. Sorry, John Carter.
Hey, I like John Carter. I feel like no one watched it. I thought it was a good time. Just saying.
Yeah, but Disney Interactive getting this guy on board is a great move for them. It shows that they're really trying to take online seriously, and everything and all the steps that they've been, really putting forward, and the getting rid of friend codes on the 3DS or just limiting it to that one. It shows that they're not taking the hit without, pushing back.
Well, I think Nintendo right now is in a very delicate spot. They have this that's the thing too, is that they're posting these losses, right? They're posting these losses. They're talking about how the company's not doing well and that kind of stuff. There is something, but the thing is that it seems like they're gonna post losses for next year as well. I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, at E3, what are the titles that are coming out this Christmas that we're all waiting to get?
For the Wii U?
Wii U and 3DS. We're talking New Mario Bros. 3DS, New Mario Bros. Wii U, Luigi's Mansion 2, Pikmin 3.
Yeah, on my end, like for the 3DS, I'm excited for New Super Mario Bros. 2. I'm not excited for New Super Mario Bros. U. I'm excited for Dark Moon, Luigi's Mansion 2. I mean, it's always with Nintendo titles. There's the like third party that I'm never really like super into. Like I did grab Resident Evil Revelations. I always like the stuff that Capcom is putting out, and Ubisoft. Like with the Wii U, I've never played an Assassin's Creed game because it's not on that console, but because it's on the Wii U, I'll probably pick it up. And for that, like that and Pikmin 3, like I'll probably be set for a while. And if you think about those Nintendo fanboys who just haven't played a bunch of games because they're not on a Nintendo console, the Wii U is going to be, kind of a treasure trove for them, because suddenly they have access to Batman Arkham and all that stuff, which is now available to them, which they wouldn't have had before. It is a lighter holiday season for them, but
I think it's a light holiday season for almost everyone.
Yeah, it is. Like they've all got like one game, so in that regard, Nintendo might be all right. But at the same time, they are really enjoying their Nintendo Direct conferences, and they keep teasing more and more information out. Yeah. So like, the Namco Bandai Smash Brothers announcement is like big news that I'm surprised they didn't show at E3, but it's like,
well, it's
exciting all the same.
They didn't show anything because they got nothing ready.
Right. But I mean, last year they were just like, oh, by the way, the 3DS and the Wii U, they'll have a Smash Brothers game, and they'll, be compatible with one another. And everyone just goes, hooray, we'd like to see something.
So before our commercial break, we were just discussing about the changes that Nintendo has been making to their personnel and how they've reported some losses, and how Mikey and I were talking also during our commercial break when you guys didn't get to hear us. We were talking also about how we both want Nintendo to do well. We really believe in Nintendo's product and we believe in what they do. It's going to be up in the air. We have no idea where it's going, and I hope for their sake they do get it together because
Yeah.
I feel bad for them in a way. So, but now enough of us talking. We're actually going to take some phone calls from the audience as we normally do here on the show. And the first person on our list here is Deja Gamer. Deja, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty well.
Doing well.
Doing well.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a good
Oh,
day.
man, yeah.
It's a good afternoon so far. So Deja, go ahead and give us your thoughts, your 2 cents on Nintendo's future, whether or not they're doing the right things, the wrong things, what they can do to improve, whatever you think of.
Okay, well, what I've been thinking about ever since I got told I'd be calling. I've been looking at the my wall of games, and I noticed that Nintendo has kind of it brands itself. No, I'm just seeing Mario over and over and over. But I'm looking down at the PS2 and I see variety. There's just there's room to experiment. I feel where Nintendo you look at a new game, you look like Zack and Wiki is a game I've looked at on the wall like the GameStop or something, and I'll be like, I don't know, it's not Mario.
Yeah, but you've
go
heard
back.
good things about it.
Yeah, just like I'll read the back of the box. I'll just be like, it sounds good. It sounds kind of like Monkey Island. I don't know. Maybe something else. That's the problem with the other stations, with the PS2 and the Xbox. You feel like you can experiment a little. With the Xbox, they kind of brand themselves with the Halo series, but with the PS3 and the Xbox, you feel like Catherine. When Catherine came out, I totally felt like that sounds really cool. If Nintendo put that out, I've been like, it's not some big name market, you know? Understand where I'm coming from?
So you're saying that the way that Nintendo brands themselves kind of determines their success in terms of like, the Marios and the Zeldas and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's essentially what Nintendo's been advertising themselves as it's all about the software.
It's just that there's and also price, I feel is a big issue. Like it seems like Nintendo game prices just never go down.
Like the top first party ones don't, unless they become Nintendo Selects,
Which is years after the fact.
Yeah.
Unless you get a game like, Imagine Wedding Designers.
I mean, the one thing I will say that they're starting to do, and I read it somewhere, they're doing the digital thing with the 3DS. They're allowing demos to come out, which is great, because I played a demo of Mutant Muds, and like I want to download it because of that. And they're also allowing for the either digital or in-purchase, in-store purchases to be made. And to my understanding, the digital ones will actually be a little bit cheaper than going to a retail store, which on Nintendo's side, like, at least they're making it so you could get exposure to a few games that you might not actually look at, like Zack and Wiki, if it were offered as a demo on the Wii Shop channel, like, then you might consider picking it up because you played it. And it's less of a gamble.
Yeah, here's the saying there. Sometimes I've picked up a demo and just been like, yeah, this looks like an interesting game. I might go pick this out.
Yeah.
But sometimes those steep prices, they just get you. The $49.99, $59.99. When really you just want a budget game for like $19.99.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why things like the Steam model works, where
Exactly.
it's you download games for free and they're pay to play based on what's inside. Buying new equipment or with real money or in-game currency, and that actually
I love Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, that's why it works though, because it's hours of fun. You can play with as many people as you'd like that you can, and it doesn't require a whole lot of peripherals that you need to do all this stuff. So I don't know. I really hope that that Nintendo can figure out what they're really doing.
Deja actually just reminded me, and just talking about this, and Steam model, the DLC aspect is something that Nintendo's finally embracing. We know that there will be new stages for Coin Rush coming out with new Super Mario Bros. 2, and the new Fire Emblem game is going to have DLC, and they're starting to actually, like, you know, with Mario Kart 7, they patched that that track glitch. So again, just like they're figuring it out. They're a few steps behind, but at least they're figuring it out, because now I'm like very excited for the outlook of having more stages. The thought of in Smash Brothers having new characters show up or new stages or
that'd be
something like
amazing.
that.
That was my one problem that Nintendo did not bring for Smash Bros. Was
Yeah,
that
like-
any kind of down. I'm not much about DLC stuff, but like if they were like $5 to play as Geno, I'd be like,
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
$5. I want to play as Geno from Mario RPG. Thank you very much.
yeah. I'd pay, like, and they could bundle like packages, and just like you would buy that. It's because, I mean, Smash Brothers of all the games out there is definitely like, it's just a fanboy's dream game, and the fact that they're starting to include more characters, and Namco Bandai like definitely is going to bring more characters to the front. So it's like very exciting. If they don't do DLC on that, or have a roster of 80 right from the gate, like, I mean, 80 might be a little extreme, but you know, just like we've been spoiled. You see in like Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom, and Street Fighter, like there are a large roster of characters, and so we've
Yeah.
come to expect that.
All right, and the next person on our call list is Mikey. I actually know Mikey because he sends stuff to me all the time. He's very active on Twitter and Tumblr. Sorry, it's not the right word. Tumblr.
Tumblr.
And he does some pretty amazing artwork. Even if it's disturbing, it's pretty amazing. So, Mikey, thank you for calling in.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. How you doing today?
Well, I recently just shaved my beard into a mutton chop goatee combo, so I'm pretty good.
Ooh,
There you go.
very nice.
You get points for creativity. I really want to start rocking the goatee again, but I feel like that's so hipster that like people would
You
not
can't
like
do it,
that.
Gerard. You can't
I
do it.
know, but my girlfriend loves it. She loves when I'm goatee status because it's not that it's not that hairy, doesn't hurt the face, you know, it's good to go. Anyways, I digress. My,
The show's about now.
Mikey, so Mike S, Mikey Serpa. I'm just calling you Serpa. Serpa.
All right.
What are your thoughts and your opinion on the future of Nintendo?
The future of Nintendo is a love-hate thing for me. Like, when they first announced the 3DS, I actually didn't see it coming. Like, I know it sort of blinded me, but I didn't think that they were going to be like, because people loved the XL so much, let's go on and do it again. But they did, and it sort of horrified me that they would do that again. But after I stopped punching holes in walls and calmed down a bit, I'm like, you know, the 3DS could use a bigger screen. I mean, the game's already pretty good looking,
Mm-hmm.
so having a bigger screen on that would be really cool. So I'm like, okay, I'll let that one slide. But with Nintendo, they have one of the longest standing collection of IPs I've ever seen.
Right.
Like, Sony even has their longest IPs are somewhat struggling now. But Nintendo, you still have Mario, you still have Legend of Zelda, you still have Metroid, you still have all these IPs that are still standing so strong. And I think that at some point those IPs are going to get used up, and people are going to be like, okay, it's a new Mario. We've only seen Grassland maybe 80 times now. Can we get something new maybe? And maybe, I don't know, maybe Flowerland? Nothing but flowers? But I think that maybe if Nintendo tried to step outside the box a bit, maybe invent maybe a few new IPs.
I would like to see Super Mario Pillow Land, where it's just nothing but pillows in the mattress warehouse.
Yeah,
Just
there's
saying.
definitely, I mean, there's definitely a comfort for them of they know that Mario sells. They know that they can slap Mario onto any sport and that will sell the sport. Like, but it's a matter of, yeah, exactly what you're saying, of just like, just think outside the box a little bit. I think with the eShop and being able to make the cheaper digital games, they are starting to do that, but it's not going to gain as much traction because, you know, it's I don't see that many people being like, oh, there's a digital game that I need to have. But if they bolster the library a bit, then maybe that'll change.
Digital games, like on the eShop, I'm okay with. Like some of the games, I'm like, oh, that's actually a really neat idea. So I go and I buy it and I really enjoy it.
Mhm.
But for me, the games that come out on the discs, like Super Mario Galaxy and Monster Hunter Tri and Super
Mhm.
Smash Bros., those games are so much larger. You can
Right.
get so much more out of them. Now, true, they are more expensive,
Hmm.
but they're they're massive. And if Nintendo found a way to do that with downloadable games, that market would just explode. All of a sudden, you would have huge
Right.
games in the stores and on your system.
One thing they could do to really outdo both Sony and Microsoft on such a smaller scale is indie games. If they just had the support of guys like Edmund McMillan and Team Meat
Yeah.
and all those, the indie games are where it's at right now.
Like I got really excited when World of Goo hit the Wii Shop. Like that's a great game, but you don't have many others.
Well, the thing about indie games is that it's super cheap for the consumer. No more than $5. The games last about anywhere from 8 to 40 hours, which is what we want from a game. Like I know you all saw me play Super Meat Boy, but I loved Meat Boy because it was a lengthy game with tons of content, with costumes, with collectibles, with a story that was simplistic enough for me to care and relate, and it felt great. The controls were awesome, and I really enjoyed what they had to offer. And I feel like if Nintendo went to these indie developers like Steam and said, on Steam and said, hey, like, for a couple of bucks, your content on our consoles, like, really excellent, good to go. And Nintendo kind of, like, they're really picky about it because they're worried that people associate their branding to those indie games. For instance, that's why we don't see The Binding of Isaac on the 3DS. It's very much a 3DS game. It would be perfect on the 3DS. The problem is you won't see it because it's that it has the M mature rating. It's dealing with
I think mature is lenient. I mean,
Yeah.
I've played a lot of that game. It has some very creative things on it, things that I wouldn't even think of. And
Right.
that's something. And going to what Deja said real quick, just small point of mine, I do agree that Sony and Microsoft do have, in their own way, a bit more variety. Like Sony especially, I'm not a huge Sony person, but I do respect them in the fact that they have a huge variety of stuff. They have all sorts of games that I wish I could play if I owned a PS2, but there's these games that I really wish I could get my hands on, but I only own Nintendo systems for some abstract reason. But Nintendo plays it safe. You've got your Mario, you got your Zelda. You're not probably going to get the indie developers like Fez on the 3DS would probably be pretty awesome, but you probably just won't get that from Nintendo. Nintendo's like, that's out of our box. We like our box a lot. Like, you see how we're all in it?
I like that. I like that point of mind. That it's out of our box. Ooh, it's out of our box. Nintendo, why don't you make a shooter game? Ooh, out of the box. Can't touch the box. Ladies and gentlemen, our last caller of the day is Scotty from Joyzy. Now, Scotty, it's funny. I don't pick the callers who call in. My chat moderators do. And Scotty's been like one of my OG fans from the beginning. Like, you guys don't understand. He sends in stuff to me every week. I have like a pile for what everyone sends in, and then like I have the Scotty pile because I get stuff from him every week, and I love every bit of it. Scotty, thank you so much for you finally get to call in and talk on the show. How you doing, Scotty?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
How are you, Michael?
Oh man, the best.
See, I asked you how you were doing. No one else did.
There you go. That's a point. I did the point thing on the camera. It's like one
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So my look on it is that it could go either both ways because I've been a fan of Nintendo since I was a kid, growing up with the SNES and stuff. Well, I've kind of shifted my ways after the GameCube was released because the GameCube was such an awesome system, and the Wii was kind of all right, but I lost my respect after the Wii.
Yeah, the Wii kind of petered out early, whereas the GameCube, like I remember the GameCube getting so much flack when it came out, but when you look at like what it had, it is a very solid library of not just like Nintendo but also third-party stuff. Yeah.
I don't completely hate the Wii. I like some games on it, like Twilight Princess and stuff.
Yeah, but it fell off pretty quick. Like right out of I mean, the last game that I bought for it was Skyward Sword, and that was when was that? That was last year.
Yeah, last November.
Last November, and then I didn't even finish playing Skyward Sword because I didn't like the motion controls.
I agree with Deja before. He said PlayStation has a variety of games. I totally agree with that because I've been using Sony now and Microsoft and stuff. I'm really addicted to the Assassin's Creed games now. Those are really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that Nintendo, they stay such family oriented because they know that like their stockholders believe in the family values. They believe that, you know, there's nothing violent or scary about a Mario game, and Zelda is kind of like just enough to get people in there for like that mature kind of content. And then, like, you know, even Brawl, like Smash Brothers, is kind of like the limit that they get into. But you don't really ever see anything too dark in a Mario game or a Zelda game or, you know, any kind of original IP. So that's why you're not going to see things like, you know, Assassin's Creed from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't the new one coming for Wii U?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
it looks awesome.
Yeah, but the thing is that that's Nintendo's support. I guess I should have worded it better. What I mean to say is that you'll never see a first-party title like Assassin's Creed coming from Nintendo.
Now it's all about Mario.
We say that, but we don't know. We don't know what they could be cooking up. Like, I mean, everybody got really excited when the GameCube showed off that tech of the really like kind of grittier looking Legend of Zelda, and Twilight Princess was a pretty dark game.
Grungy, kind of.
Yeah, it was morose and dark. Like, I mean, not nearly as dark as Majora's Mask. They've definitely gone into those like weirder, darker realms. Even Earthbound has like pretty dark tone to it, and that's like one of those things that Nintendo can do that can be more adult while it still feels like a Nintendo game. I think it's tone that is the thing that Nintendo is really, really good at. And that's why, like, we might not get a bloody game, but man, oh man, they can make a game that is creepy as all hell. Like Majora's Mask, the final boss battle, like that whole thing is terrifying. And like the moon coming down, like everything about that world is just twisted. It's like that's the game I really like. I want them to make something of that caliber again, or like Eternal Darkness, or you know, something like that that just is really playing on that weird tonal bent, because they have it in them. They're just playing it safe.
Well, I think that's all we got. That's all the time we got for today, Mikey.
We definitely got like a good realm of opinions going, not just from our callers, but also in the chat. Like,
yeah, a lot. It's very active because we all care about Nintendo. I feel like if it was any other company, Nintendo would kind of be the one. That's not true.
I mean,
but...
Nintendo and Sega. I mean, when they were like back in the day of the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. I mean, for us at least, they were the gateway system that got us to where we are now.
They've been succeeding for so long, and we're used to what they're doing. We like what they do. We don't want them to, stop, producing what they're producing. We just don't want it to get old. We don't want it to get stale. We don't want them to get swallowed up into what the current future of console gaming is going into.
And then there was also the statement a while back from Iwata, because when Sega dropped out after the Dreamcast, Iwata said, when Nintendo stops doing consoles, we will also stop doing games. And that's terrifying, because nobody does like that charm and that wonder. Mario Galaxy was a delight to play. Wind Waker, a delight to play. When you first put on, we're playing Metroid Prime, you're like, this is a world I love.
Yeah.
And it's you don't want the future of Nintendo to be dark and for them to not succeed. You want them to keep making games because they do it so well.
Well, on that note, guys, that is it for us today here on the Downloadable Cast. Greg Wilmot will be making a return next week back in his
usual
square to this direction. Michael Barrity, thank you so much for spending time to meet with us and to talk with us.
Of course. Always a pleasure.
If you guys don't know who Michael is, I definitely suggest YouTubing some of his movie reviews. He is most infamous for his viral video hit of What If Star Wars Episode 1 Was Good? And everyone's asking, and I don't need to pry you, Mikey, because you're talking to me about it all the time. But
oh man, yeah, I've got a whiteboard that I'm slowly mapping out how to fix Episode 2. I'll simply put it this way, it is a mess, and a lot of Episode 2 is getting some serious treatment to it right now. Clone Wars are starting right at the top, and that Obi-Wan Anakin relationship's going to be real fun.
Oh yeah, Mikey actually is also going to be co-producing Defend It, the next episode of Defend It coming out in, I guess it's a spoiler for you guys, in about 2 weeks we're going to have a new Defend It coming at you guys, and then the chat blows up with excitement. And then another, Mikey and I are also going to be producing together a... Oh, can't talk about that yet. Okay, we won't talk about that yet.
But there's something.
There's something new coming at you guys. That's gonna be a little more focused. A little more for both of us. We'll be stepping away from. We're still doing the completionist and all that stuff, but new projects.
Yeah.
So once again,
and it's not Ari and Stone in 3D.
Ari and Stone is not making a comeback. No. So, Mikey, once again, thank you so much.
Of course, and if you guys want, you can check me out on the Twitter and the Tumblr.
Oh, that's
and the
right.
YouTubes. Just type in Belated Media, all that stuff pops up.
I'm so bad at that whole thing.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. And then you'll also probably see Gerard and I tweet back and forth all the time, so...
Yeah, so you can follow Mikey on Twitter at Belated Media. Of course, you can follow me at JKCompletesIt. You can follow Greg as well at McSquaresville. Mikey, you have a Tumblr page too, right? Is it belatedmedia.tumblr?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
the very same.
More
I
links.
keep it simple.
Yeah, links are appearing all over the place at this point in the video.
They're in the description below.
Yes, and the chat as well. You guys will get that as well. There will be link dumps for all the stuff we talked about today. And I think that's it. Guys, it's time for something completely different.